Hey, Soul Stories fam! We've got a sweet and totally swoon-worthy love story for you today. Let's jump in. Evening at Lux. The glittering gem in the heart of the city glowed under soft golden lights that cascaded over white silk-covered tables, blending with the mellow strains of jazz music. This luxurious setting was the last place anyone expected to see Jade Harper, 32, head of marketing at Nova Creative, walking and wearing cotton pajamas printed with teddy bears, loose gray pants, an oversized t-shirt, and worn-out sneakers. Her hair was tied in a loose high ponytail, with a few curls tumbling down her shoulder, a stark contrast to the formal gowns and tailored suits surrounding her. Jade hadn't planned to make an impression. She was only here to fill in for her best friend Chloe, who'd canceled a blind date at the last minute due to an emergency. Thinking she'd just show up, apologize, and leave, Jade hadn't realized Lux was a five-star restaurant, and she definitely hadn't expected the man waiting at the corner table with a perfect view of the sparkling skyline to be Ethan Blackwell, 35, CEO of Blackwell Enterprises, her rival from a tense bidding war 6 months ago in Singapore. As the server guided her to the table, Jade paused. Ethan, dressed in a perfectly tailored black suit, looked up from his wine glass. His dark brown eyes showed no surprise. No smile, just the briefest flicker of curiosity. Jade felt heat rush to her face, not from embarrassment. She wasn't the type to blush, but from sheer irritation at Chloe for dragging her into this mess. "Harper," Ethan said coolly, his voice calm and deep. "Didn't know dinner attire included pajamas." He tilted his head slightly, eyes scanning her teddy bear outfit, not mocking, but with a subtle amusement she couldn't miss. Jade took a deep breath, planted a hand on her hip, and smiled a sharp smile she reserved for tense boardroom meetings. "Blackwell, if I'd known I was meeting an arrogant CEO, I'd have worn a ball gown. But now you're stuck with this bear." She pulled out the chair and sat down, deciding not to let awkwardness win. If Ethan thought she'd flee, he was wrong. Ethan raised his glass, taking a slow sip, his gaze steady. "No complaints," he said evenly. "But I am curious. Did you show up on a dare, or just forget your calendar?" Jade laughed, the sound light and unforced, drawing a few glances from nearby diners. "My friend Chloe has a habit of throwing me into ridiculous situations. I came to apologize on her behalf, but now it seems like I've been set up." She arched a brow. "And you? Doesn't a CEO like you have something better to do on a Friday night?" Ethan set down his glass, the corner of his mouth twitching, but not quite a smile. "I was set up too. My assistant Ryan thinks I need entertainment outside of work. Looks like he chose the right person to surprise me." Their conversation unfolded like a chess match, each comment sharp, probing. Jade brought up the Singapore bidding war, how she'd accidentally spilled coffee on his presentation materials, causing his team to lose a major contract. Ethan countered by admitting she'd impressed him, though he'd won the next deal thanks to a move she hadn't anticipated. Neither backed down, but the air wasn't tense. It was more like a tango, poised, daring, and full of challenge. When the appetizer and intricately plated balsamic dressed salad arrived, Jade couldn't help herself. "Really, Blackwell? This salad looks like it was designed for Instagram, not eating." She poked at a leaf of arugula with her fork, arching an eyebrow. "Do you always go for flashy things like this?" Ethan leaned forward, a glint of danger in his eyes. "I choose what's worth it, Harper, even if it's unconventional." His gaze drifted again to her pajamas. Jade felt her heart race, but quickly masked it with a shake of her head. "Don't try to charm me with that look," she said, half teasing, half serious. "I'm not that easy to sway." "I never thought you were," Ethan replied, voice low, almost a whisper. "That's why I'm still sitting here." The chapter ends as Ethan signals the waiter to bring the main course, his eyes still locked on Jade like she was a puzzle he was determined to solve. And Jade, while outwardly composed, felt a spark in every exchange and wondered whether she should stay just a little longer or leave before things got complicated. Dinner at Lux continued as the main course arrived, Wagyu steak for Ethan and seared salmon for Jade. The golden lighting and smooth jazz still filled the room, but the atmosphere between them had shifted from playful challenge to something deeper, a genuine curiosity. Jade, still in her teddy bear pajamas, sat upright, sharp eyes fixed on Ethan, a man who seemed to always be in control except, perhaps, when it came to her. She set her fork down, rested her chin on her hand, and looked straight at him. "Blackwell, be honest. How exactly do you run Blackwell Enterprises in a way that gives competitors like us constant headaches? Or are you just good at picking expensive restaurants to impress people?" Her tone was teasing, but her gaze was sincerely intrigued, a continuation of the sharp banter that had begun with the appetizers. Ethan raised an eyebrow, the corner of his mouth lifting into one of his rare but meaningful smiles. "Harper, you think I rely on appearances alone? I win because I study my opponents. Like in Singapore, you almost cost me the deal with that bold proposal. But you forgot one thing: I always have a backup plan." He leaned forward, his voice dropping slightly. "And you? Do you lead your team with instinct or just plain luck?" Jade laughed, a natural sound that turned a few heads nearby. "Luck? I work 80 hours a week and drink peppermint tea to stay functional. That's not luck, Blackwell, it's strategy." She took a sip of water, eyes sparkling. "But I'm curious. A CEO like you, aside from signing contracts and wearing expensive suits, what do you do to unwind?" Ethan tapped his finger against the rim of his wine glass, thinking for a moment. "Relaxation isn't exactly my strength, but if I had to pick, I like driving along the coast at night. No music, no phone, just the sound of the ocean." He paused, locking eyes with her. "And you, Harper? Besides showing up to five-star restaurants in pajamas, how do you keep life interesting?" Jade felt her heart skip a beat. The way he asked, equal parts intrigued and challenging, made her want to reveal more than she usually did. But she held back, covering it with a smile. "I like simple things. Reading, running, and occasionally arguing with my grandmother about why I'm still single. She thinks I'm too picky." She shrugged, voice light. "But I'm not in a rush. Love isn't something I chase." Ethan studied her, his gaze deep as if trying to read between her words. "Being picky isn't a bad thing," he said slowly, "but I do wonder. Someone like you, sharp, independent, and showing up in teddy bear pajamas, what kind of man would you choose?" The question hung in the air, and Jade felt a jolt run down her spine. She knew Ethan was trying to throw her off, but she wasn't one to fall into traps easily. "He'd have to be smart enough not to let me outmaneuver him," she replied, half playful, half serious, "and he'd need better taste in steak than you." Ethan chuckled, a deep, rare sound that caught her off guard. "You're tough, Harper," he said, lifting his glass toward her in a toast. "But I like a challenge." As the dessert-rich chocolate mousse with a light cream layer was served, Ethan shifted gears. "How about we try this again? Another dinner, no pajamas, no mistaken identities." His voice was calm, but his gaze was intent. Jade considered it, turning her glass slowly between her fingers. "Blackwell, we're competitors. I'm not sure having dinner with you is a good idea." She smiled, but inside she wasn't so sure. There was something about Ethan, his confidence, his unreadable expression, that made it hard to look away. Ethan shrugged, his face unreadable. "I don't offer second invitations, Harper, but if you change your mind, I'll consider it." He pulled a business card from his pocket and placed it on the table in front of her. "You know how to reach me." Jade stepped into her small apartment, the glow from a desk lamp casting light on an overflowing bookshelf. Chloe was curled up on the couch, clutching a mug of cocoa, her grin mischievous. "Well? Spill. What was he like? Please tell me you didn't spill wine on him." Jade tossed Ethan's card onto the coffee table and shot Chloe a glare. "You owe me an explanation, Chloe. That man was Ethan Blackwell, CEO of Blackwell Enterprises. Do you know him? The guy who made our whole team lose sleep over Singapore?" Chloe nearly dropped her mug. "Oh my God, seriously, I had no idea. Ryan, his assistant, just said a good friend needed to meet someone special. I thought you two would hit it off." She winked, but Jade just flopped down onto the couch. "Special? I was wearing teddy bear pajamas, Chloe." Jade sighed, though the corners of her lips curled slightly as she remembered Ethan's eyes, not mocking, just curious. "He didn't smile much, but he looked at me like, Like I was a puzzle he wanted to solve. Chloe burst out laughing. Jade, you like him. I saw that sparkle in your eyes already. She snatched up the card and read his name aloud. CEO, handsome, and didn't even flinch at pajamas? That's worth a second shot. Jade snatched the card back and stuffed it into her hoodie pocket. There won't be a second shot. He's the competition, and I don't play dangerous games. But Ethan's eyes deep, calculating flashed in her mind again. Morning sunlight streamed through the window of Jade Harper's office at Nova Creative headquarters, casting a warm glow on her cluttered desk and the untouched cup of peppermint tea. Dressed in a sleek navy suit with her hair pulled back in a neat ponytail, Jade frowned as she read the email on her screen, a collaboration proposal from Blackwell Enterprises. The project was a joint marketing campaign for a new tech brand, with a large budget and the potential to elevate both companies' reputations. But what made her pause was the name signed at the bottom, Ethan Blackwell. Since that dinner at Lux the previous week, Jade had tried to push Ethan out of her mind. His business card still sat untouched in the pocket of her hoodie, but his deep eyes and rare smile kept intruding every time her thoughts wandered. She shook her head, reminding herself that Ethan Blackwell, with his confidence and calculated charm, was not someone she should be thinking about. But now he wasn't reappearing through a surprise date, he was entering her world with a proposal laced with ambiguity. Jade gathered her team for a briefing. This could be a big opportunity, she said, her voice firm, though her eyes were wary. But Blackwell Enterprises never does anything without an angle. We need to be prepared. Her team nodded, used to Jade's sharp leadership, always 2 steps ahead, never off guard. 2 days later, Jade stepped into the Blackwell Enterprises headquarters, a sleek glass tower with minimalist yet luxurious design. The conference room on the 35th floor was spacious, with a long wooden table and panoramic views of the city skyline. Ethan was already there, standing by the window, his dark gray suit emphasizing his tall frame. He turned as she entered, a glint of amusement in his eyes despite his usual calm demeanor. Harper, he greeted, voice low and smooth. I see you've left the teddy bears at home. Shame. Jade raised an eyebrow and set her briefcase down. Blackwell, I'm here to work, not listen to your commentary on my wardrobe. She smiled sharp and composed. Let's get to the point. This project was your idea, wasn't it? Why choose Nova Creative? Ethan sat down, motioning for her to do the same. Because of you, he said plainly, making her pause. Your team is known for creativity and results. I don't want a mediocre partner. He slid a document folder toward her, voice steady but eyes probing. But if you think this is some kind of trap, say it. I like honesty. Jade flipped through the folder, hiding her surprise. The proposal outlined a global tech campaign requiring a mix of bold strategy and innovative flair. It was a real opportunity for Nova Creative to make a mark, but she couldn't shake the feeling that Ethan was playing a much bigger game. The meeting began with both teams present. Jade presented Nova Creative's initial strategy, highlighting a fresh approach tailored to younger consumers. Ethan listened, occasionally nodding, but his gaze often lingered on her more than the slides. When a member of Ethan's team challenged her plan, Jade countered with a sharp, confident argument that silenced the room. For the first time in the meeting, Ethan's mouth twitched in a barely-there smile so small most didn't notice. After 2 intense hours, the meeting adjourned. As the teams filed out, Ethan stopped Jade. You did well, Harper, he said in a low voice, but you seem tense. Coffee? He gestured to a paper cup on the table. Next to it, a handwritten note. Decaf. You already look stressed enough. Jade laughed, unable to stop herself. Do you really think I need decaf, Blackwell? She picked up the cup, shaking her head. Thanks, but I prefer tea. I remember, Ethan replied, eyes gleaming slightly. Peppermint, right? I'll have it ready next time. He stepped out of the room, leaving her with the coffee and an unshakable feeling. He remembered her tea preference from their night at Lux. That small detail made her both curious and cautious. Back at Nova Creative, Jade received an email from Ethan's team confirming that all her team's contributions would be fully credited in the joint report. It was unexpected Blackwell Enterprises wasn't known for generously sharing credit. Jade reread the email, wondering if Ethan was building trust or lowering her guard. As her team left the office for the day, Jade remained, gazing out the window. She thought of Ethan, the man with unreadable eyes and oddly thoughtful gestures. He wasn't like her usual rivals, the cold corporate strategists she was used to. But it was his mystery that made her hesitate. "What game are you playing, Blackwell?" she murmured, absently spinning the business card he'd given her last week, still tucked inside her desk drawer. At Blackwell Enterprises, Ethan stood in his office, looking out over the city. His assistant Ryan entered, carrying a folder. "Ms. Harper was impressive today," Ryan said flatly, "but I doubt you brought her in just for her qualifications." Ethan didn't respond immediately, his lips curling slightly. "She's a challenge, Ryan, and I don't like losing." But even as he spoke, his gaze drifted towards something farther off, something even he hadn't quite defined yet. Back in her office, Jade finally set the card down. She reminded herself that this project was about proving her team's strength, not getting pulled into Ethan Blackwell's game. But deep down, she knew he'd sparked a curiosity she couldn't easily extinguish. She stood, switched off the light, and left the office carrying with her a mix of suspicion and something dangerously close to anticipation. The seaside villa perched on a hill overlooking the ocean, with glass walls that reflected the blazing red of the setting sun. The gentle crash of waves mingled with the salty breeze, creating a tranquil yet luxurious atmosphere. Jade Harper, dressed in a crisp white blouse and tailored slacks, rolled her suitcase into the main hall, only to be met with a shocking announcement from the receptionist. Due to a booking error, she and Ethan Blackwell would have to share the same villa, a two-bedroom property, with a shared living room and a fully equipped kitchen. Jade's brows furrowed, her grip on her suitcase tightening. "There must be some mistake," she said, her voice cool but composed. "I requested a private suite." The receptionist, flustered, double-checked the system. "I'm very sorry, Ms. Harper, but this is the only available villa. It's peak season this week." Before Jade could protest, Ethan walked in, his suitcase trailing behind him, handled by another staff member. He wore a black polo and slacks, more casual than usual, yet still radiating authority. "Harper," he greeted, voice smooth with a hint of amusement. "You look like you just found an error in a multi-million-dollar contract." He glanced from the receptionist to Jade. "Let me guess we're stuck together?" Arms crossed, Jade raised an eyebrow. "If this is your idea of a joke, Blackwell, it's not funny." But the flicker in her eyes betrayed her unease. After the tense meeting at Blackwell Enterprises the week before, and the infamous decaf coffee with Ethan's teasing note, she'd tried to keep her distance. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. Ethan shrugged and motioned for the staff to leave. "Not my doing, but I'm not complaining." "You?" His smirk held the same glint as the one he'd worn at Lux. Jade shook her head and wheeled her suitcase into her private bedroom, determined to keep things strictly professional. That evening, they had to prepare a meal together for a small gathering with their joint project team, part of their work trip to meet with tech partners. The villa's kitchen, with marble counters and top-tier appliances, quickly turned into a new battlefield. Jade, used to cooking simple meals at home, opted for salad and grilled fish. To her surprise, Ethan offered to help, handling a knife with surprising skill as he chopped vegetables. "You can cook," Ethan commented as he sliced tomatoes with clean, practiced strokes. "I thought you only excelled at boardroom battles." Jade, marinating the fish, glanced sideways. "And I thought you only excelled at closing deals and picking overpriced wine, Blackwell." She smiled slightly, her tone tinged with mischief. "Try not to burn the place down." Ethan chuckled, a deep and warm sound that made Jade's hand pause mid-motion. "Has anyone ever turned you down, Harper?" he asked, half teasing, half serious, his gaze locked on hers. Jade set the olive oil bottle down and turned to face him. "Who do you think you are, Blackwell?" Her voice was sharp, but her eyes flickered with hesitation. "I don't turn people down. I just don't have time for romance games." Ethan stopped slicing, leaning back against the counter. "No time or too afraid?" His voice dropped, like he was daring her to reveal something buried deeper. Jade felt her heart race, but quickly composed herself. "I'm not afraid of anything," she replied coolly, "except letting a smug CEO think he can throw me off my game." She turned back to her task, though her mind was anything but steady. Ethan didn't push further, he simply finished his part of the cooking in silence. But the tension between them thickened, as if they were teetering on the edge of something undefined. After the dinner party, once the team had left, Jade and Ethan remained by the fireplace in the villa's living room. The flames danced, casting warm light on their faces. Jade, holding a cup of peppermint tea, broke the silence. "You know," she began softly, "I've always believed I had to be independent. My grandmother raised me to never rely on anyone, especially not men." She stared into the fire, her voice calm but touched with a quiet sorrow. "But sometimes I wonder if I've missed out on something because of that." Ethan, wineglass in hand, looked at her with quiet intensity. "I get it," he said slowly. "I used to think control was the only way to protect myself. But I've learned sometimes losing control is the only way to feel alive." He paused as if weighing whether to go on. "You, Harper, you make me wonder if I've been holding on too tightly." Jade turned toward him, surprised by the rare honesty in his voice. "Are you trying to get me to lower my guard, Blackwell?" She smiled, but it didn't quite mask her vulnerability. "Because it's not going to work." Ethan's lips curled into a soft grin. "I'm not trying anything, just speaking the truth." He stood, setting down his glass. "Get some rest, Harper. We've got a long meeting tomorrow." He turned to head to his room, but his eyes lingered on her for a second longer, like he wanted to say more, but wasn't ready. Jade stayed by the fire, holding her now cold tea. His words echoed in her mind. She had always taken pride in her independence, but for the first time she felt a tug, however small, to understand this enigmatic man better. Still, she quickly shook the feeling off, telling herself it was just a moment of weakness, nothing more. In his room, Ethan stood by the window, gazing out at the dark ocean. He thought of Jade, her sharp mind, her strength, and the vulnerability she tried to hide. He knew he was treading into dangerous territory where control was no longer his strongest weapon. But for once, he didn't want to retreat. Before bed, Jade instinctively checked her coat pocket where Ethan's business card still rested. "You're not easy, Blackwell," she murmured, "but neither am I." She turned off the light, but her heart, whether she admitted it or not, had skipped a beat, like the flame in the fireplace that still glowed in the dark. The fluorescent lights in Nova Creative's office felt colder than usual as Jade Harper walked in that Monday morning. In the small conference room where the marketing team gathered, the air was thick with sidelong glances and hushed whispers. A rumor, spreading like wildfire, had thrown everything off balance. Jade, sharp, independent, and respected, was now being accused of leveraging her relationship with Ethan Blackwell, CEO of Blackwell Enterprises, to gain favor on their joint campaign. The whispers didn't just come from rivals, they came from her own colleagues. People who once admired her now looked at her with doubt. Standing at the front of the meeting table, hand wrapped tightly around the presentation remote, Jade spoke in a steady voice as she outlined the plan for the upcoming tech campaign. "We need to focus on our younger demographic using interactive video and strategic social media targeting," she said, her eyes scanning each face around the room. But when one colleague interrupted with a thinly veiled jab, "How do we know this was your idea and not your partner's?" Jade felt a sharp pang in her chest. She smiled a cold, calculated smile. "This idea came from our team. If you need proof, I've got a stack of drafts and emails. Want to see them?" He looked down in silence, but the damage was done. The sting went deeper than any snide comment. Jade had always taken pride in her integrity, those sleepless nights perfecting proposals. The arguments with her grandmother about living on her own terms. To be questioned not for her ideas, but because of a connection that didn't even exist, felt like betrayal. Not just by her coworkers, but by Ethan. After the moments they'd shared at the seaside villa, his quiet honesty by the firelight, the way he looked at her like she was the only thing that mattered, she had hoped, just a little, that he would step up and defend her. But he didn't. No email, no call from Blackwell Enterprises to clarify the rumors. Back at her desk, Jade closed her office door and sat down, fingers brushing the edge of Ethan's business card tucked in her drawer. She hadn't looked at it since the villa, but now it felt like a cruel reminder of her own naivety. "Stupid," she muttered, tossing the card across her desk. "He's a CEO, not a knight in shining armor." Her resolve hardened. Jade opened her laptop and began drafting a more detailed campaign strategy, one that would silence the rumors with results, not excuses. That evening, at a high-profile tech event held in a luxury hotel, crystal chandeliers sparkled above tailored suits and elegant gowns. Jade, wearing a fitted black dress and soft curls cascading over her shoulders, entered with poise. She knew the rumors had followed her here too, judging eyes from investors and partners swept over her. But Jade didn't bow. She smiled, shook hands, and presented the campaign with sharp, unwavering confidence like the whispers didn't touch her. Ethan Blackwell was there too, standing in a corner of the room with a glass of wine in hand, eyes tracking her from across the crowd. Dressed in a navy suit, he exuded his usual quiet power, though his gaze gave away more than he intended. When an investor threw a loaded question about her relationship with Blackwell Enterprises, Jade responded with stunning composure. "This project is the result of Nova Creative's hard work. If you'd like to discuss numbers, I'm happy to provide them. As for the rumors, I believe the truth speaks for itself." A few meters away, Ethan's lips curved into a faint smile. He could have stepped in, could have shut the gossip down in one sentence, but he didn't. Not because he didn't care, because he knew Jade. She didn't need a man to fight her battles. She was the fire, and he wanted to see her blaze on her own terms. But his silence, however well-intended, cut deeper than he realized. Jade glanced at him from across the room, a flicker of disappointment flashing in her eyes before she turned away and re-engaged with a group of potential partners. Later, as the event drew to a close, Jade stood alone on the balcony, overlooking the glittering city below. The cool night breeze offered relief from the heat of the day. She told herself she didn't need Ethan or anyone to validate her worth. But deep down, his silence stung like a paper cut she couldn't ignore. She wondered if the moments in the villa, his vulnerable words by the fire, the way he looked at her like she was the only thing that mattered had been real or just wishful thinking. Inside the hotel, Ethan stood near the glass doors, watching her silhouette. His assistant, Ryan, appeared beside him with his usual bluntness. "Ms. Harper handled that well. But you're really not going to say anything? Those rumors are hurting her." Ethan took a sip of wine, eyes still locked on Jade. "She doesn't need me to speak for her," he said quietly. "She's stronger than that. But I'll make sure no one questions her again." He set down his glass, eyes glinting with something deliberate, like a plan already forming in his mind. That night, Jade returned to her apartment late. She kicked off her heels and dropped onto the couch, peppermint tea warming her hands. Her phone buzzed Chloe. "Jade, I heard about the rumors. Are you okay?" Jade gave a weak smile. "I'm fine, Chloe. I'll prove them wrong. Like always." But as she leaned back, Ethan's face from the event resurfaced in her mind, watching, silent, unreadable. Was his silence indifference or something deeper? She shook her head, telling herself she didn't need an answer. But her heart, so fierce and guarded, fluttered ever so slightly, like the city lights outside that never quite go dark. The tech gala was held in the grand ballroom of the Grand Horizon Hotel, where crystal chandeliers sparkled above a sea of elegant gowns and perfectly tailored suits. The soft strains of violins blended with the hum of champagne-fueled conversations, creating an atmosphere that was both sophisticated and quietly charged, where business deals were struck between sips of vintage brut. Jade Harper stepped into the ballroom in a form-fitting emerald gown, her loose curls cascading over her shoulders. Her posture was poised, but the sting of last week's rumors still clung to her like a bruise. She had told herself she was done thinking about Ethan Blackwell, determined to focus solely on her work and prove her worth through action, not through association. But fate, as usual, had other plans. Ethan stood near the center of the room, champagne glass in hand, deep in conversation with a circle of investors. He wore a black suit, sharp and commanding, his expression unreadable. Jade avoided his gaze, throwing herself into discussions with clients and partners, presenting the joint campaign between Nova Creative and Blackwell Enterprises with clear, practiced confidence. But then she walked in, and everything shifted. Vanessa, Ethan's ex-girlfriend, arrived in a striking red gown, her golden hair curled to glossy perfection. She made a beeline for Ethan, placing a perfectly manicured hand on his arm with a level of intimacy that made half the room glance their way. "Ethan, it's been so long," she said sweetly. Too sweet, her voice laced with something sharper. Ethan gave a small nod, his expression unmoved, but he didn't pull away from her touch. Standing just a few feet away, Jade's heart clenched. She turned away, trying to keep her professional smile intact as she continued her conversation with a potential sponsor. But she couldn't unsee the way Vanessa looked at her like a rival being sized up and dismissed. Vanessa leaned in, whispered something to Ethan, and let out a loud, exaggerated laugh. He replied quietly, his tone even, giving nothing away. Jade told herself it didn't matter, that Ethan wasn't worth the heartache. But the sight of him beside Vanessa, coupled with his silence during the storm of last week's rumors, left her feeling betrayed all over again. Refusing to spiral, Jade stepped out onto the balcony. The cool night air swept over her skin, calming the heat that had risen in her chest. She leaned against the railing, eyes focused on the glowing cityscape below, trying to steady her thoughts. "I'm such a fool," she muttered, gripping her water glass. Everything he said in that villa, his eyes, his words, just another game. She thought of that night by the fireplace, when Ethan spoke about losing control and how her heart had fluttered in response. Now it all felt like a lie, a calculated move by a man who never let his guard down. Back inside, Ethan quietly watched Jade step away. He gently removed Vanessa's hand from his arm, his tone ice cold. "Don't make things complicated, Vanessa." She smirked, her eyes sharp as glass. "I just came to say hello, Ethan. Unless you're afraid your pajama-wearing girl will get the wrong idea?" Ethan didn't respond. His eyes were already drifting toward the balcony, where Jade's silhouette faded into the shadows. He wanted to follow her, to explain that Vanessa no longer held any place in his life. But he didn't move. Jade was strong, self-possessed. He had seen her handle worse. She didn't need a knight. And yet, for the first time watching her walk away, something hollow stirred in his chest, a loneliness he hadn't known he was capable of feeling. As the gala neared its end, Jade prepared to leave when Ryan, Ethan's assistant, appeared beside her, holding a glass of orange juice. "You looked like you needed something stronger than peppermint tea," he said dryly. Jade raised an eyebrow as she accepted the glass. "Thanks, but I'm fine." Ryan shrugged, glancing toward Ethan, who was now surrounded by a cluster of eager investors. "You know," he said casually, "Vanessa and Ethan have been over for a long time, but she's complicated. She likes to stir trouble, especially when she sees Ethan care about someone." His gaze settled on her, pointed and knowing. Jade froze, her grip tightening on the glass. "Care?" she echoed. "He didn't say a word when those rumors spread. That's not what I'd call caring." Her voice was calm, but the ache underneath was unmistakable. Ryan sighed. "Ethan isn't good at emotions, but he doesn't let people hurt the ones he stopped himself, choosing his next words carefully. "He has his own way of protecting what matters." Then, without waiting for a reply, he turned and walked away, leaving Jade tangled in a whirlwind of thoughts. She exited the gala, heels clicking against the cold pavement. Streetlights flickered above her as she walked alone, their golden glow brushing her face. She told herself again that she didn't need Ethan. She didn't need anyone to make her feel whole, but her heart, so used to being shielded, ached with a quiet, persistent throb. She thought of Ethan's eyes in the villa, how they had said more than his words ever could, and wondered if maybe, just maybe, she'd misjudged him. The next morning at Blackwell Enterprises, Ethan sat at his desk, his gaze distant as it drifted past the skyline outside. Ryan entered, setting a file on the desk. "Ms. Harper left the gala early last night," he said, tone clipped. "She thinks you're not serious. Vanessa did a great job of making sure she misunderstood." Ethan tapped his fingers against the desk, his jaw tight. "I can't force her to believe me," he said, but there was a rare note of regret in his voice. "She needs time, and I'll wait." He stood and looked out at the city. "But Vanessa won't get another chance to hurt her." That night, Jade sat on her couch with a cup of peppermint tea cupped in her hands. Ethan's business card still sat in her drawer, untouched. She hadn't thrown it away, but she couldn't bring herself to look at it either. She thought about Ryan's words, about Ethan's expression at the gala, about the way he didn't stop Vanessa, but also didn't entertain her. Still, the silence, the absence of a defense, a gesture, a sign had built a wall around her heart, higher than before. "I don't need you, Blackwell," she whispered, staring into the steam curling from her cup. "I don't need anyone." But in a quiet corner of her heart, one she didn't dare acknowledge, a small, flickering hope remained. Maybe, just maybe, she was wrong about him. Still following the story? If this story found you outside of Soul Stories, we invite you home to where every touching tale begins with truth, hope, and heart. The fluorescent lights in Nova Creative's conference room cast a clinical glow over the large screen where Jade Harper stood composed, commanding, unstoppable. After weeks of chaos, from whispered rumors in the office to Vanessa's theatrical return at the gala, Jade had turned pain into purpose. Dressed in a sharp navy suit, her hair pulled back into a high, clean ponytail, she stood like a general in the boardroom battlefield. Once doubtful, her colleagues now watched in focused silence. No one dared interrupt her. She pointed at a series of charts on the screen, her voice crisp and unwavering. "We'll use short-form interactive videos combined with a bold social media push, targeting the 18 to 30 demographic. Data shows they respond best to content that feels authentic, but still surprises. This is how we lead the market." She paused, letting her words sink in, her gaze sweeping the room, daring anyone to challenge her. At the far end of the table, Ethan Blackwell sat, representing Blackwell Enterprises. He wore a charcoal gray suit, tapping a finger rhythmically against the table. His expression was unreadable, but when Jade sharply countered a suggestion from his team, a flicker of amusement danced at the corner of his mouth. One of Ethan's team members had proposed leaning into more traditional advertising. Jade didn't flinch. "Traditional is safe," she replied, cool and clear. "But it's not effective with this audience. We need to be bold, Blackwell. Or are you afraid of taking a risk?" Ethan tilted his head, eyes gleaming. "I'm not afraid of risk, Harper," he said, voice low. "But I need proof your strategy will deliver." He slid a folder toward her, as if challenging her to deliver more. Jade flipped through it, then looked up with a smile that was both confident and cutting. "Proof? I've got case studies from 3 similar campaigns. All saw a 40% increase in engagement. Want me to email it or walk you through it now?" A few soft chuckles rippled through the room, and for the first time Ethan smiled genuinely. It was small but real, just enough to catch Jade off guard for a fraction of a second. She quickly recovered and continued her presentation, extinguishing every trace of doubt with firm arguments and hard data. When the meeting ended, the room burst into applause. Jade had reclaimed her team's trust, not through words but through brilliance. But even as the validation warmed her, a familiar ache lingered. Ethan's silence at the gala, Vanessa's hand on his arm. These were wounds not yet healed. She told herself she didn't need Ethan or anyone to shine. But the way he looked at her today with respect, with admiration, stirred something dangerous inside her. That evening, Jade stayed late at the office, finishing the final report. Her desk lamp illuminated her tired eyes, still fierce with focus. At 9 p.m., a knock broke the silence. She looked up. Ethan stood in the doorway, holding a paper bag from her favorite restaurant. Mint Garden. "Harper," he said, casually placing the bag on her desk. "Planning to sleep in the office? I thought you might want something before you turn into a walking spreadsheet." Jade raised an eyebrow, hiding her surprise. "Blackwell, what are you doing here? And how do you know I like Mint Garden?" He shrugged, settling into the chair across from her. "You mentioned salmon at the villa, and peppermint tea, kind of your signature." He pushed the bag toward her, his voice gentler than usual. "You were impressive today. You earned this." Jade opened the bag-grilled salmon salad, and yes, her usual peppermint tea. She kept her tone guarded. "Thanks, but I don't need you taking care of me. And if you think this makes up for what happened at the gala, you're mistaken." Her eyes met his, carrying the sting of that night Vanessa's hand, his silence. Ethan sighed, tapping his fingers lightly on the desk. "Harper, I'm not great at explaining things, but Vanessa doesn't matter. She's my past." He paused as if weighing his words. "I didn't speak up because I knew you didn't need rescuing. You're stronger than anyone I've ever met." His words were simple, but something in them quiet, unpolished truth struck a chord. Jade wanted to believe him. She wanted to believe that the look in his eyes at the villa, the smile today, were real, but pain had made her cautious. "Thank you for the food," she said, voice soft but firm. "But I have work to do. My personal life isn't my priority right now." Ethan nodded, rising from his chair. "I understand. But Harper, if you change your mind, you know where to find me." He left quietly, the door clicking shut behind him, leaving Jade alone with a still warm cup of tea and a heart full of questions. She took a sip, the peppermint comforting, and despite herself, a small smile tugged at her lips. He remembered her preferences. He noticed. That meant something, didn't it? At Blackwell Enterprises, Ethan stared out his window. Ryan entered, dropping a file on the desk. "Harper silenced an entire room today," Ryan said flatly. "But she still thinks you let her misunderstand Vanessa. Are you sure you're playing this right?" Ethan smiled to himself, eyes gleaming faintly. "She's unstoppable, Ryan, and I'm in trouble." He tapped the desk, his thoughts drifting to Jade, her grit, her sharp gaze, the pain she tried to hide. "She's my equal, and I'll wait until she's ready." Back in her office, Jade stared at the now empty teacup. Her hand moved to the drawer. She opened it slowly. There it was, Ethan's business card. She didn't touch it, but for the first time, she didn't close the drawer either. "You think you can change my mind, Blackwell?" she murmured, a flicker of challenge in her voice. "Try me." A small smile curved her lips, faint, hesitant, but real. A flicker of hope slipped in, shielded by strength, but impossible to ignore. The conference hall at Blackwell Enterprises was packed on Tuesday morning. Reporters, corporate partners, and staff from both Nova Creative and Blackwell Enterprises filled every seat. Sunlight streamed through the glass windows, reflecting off polished tables and large presentation screens set up at the front. An unexpected internal investigation had rocked both companies, accusing Jade Harper of data fraud in the joint marketing campaign. The air buzzed with tension and speculation. Jade, seated in the front row in a sleek gray suit, held a cup of peppermint tea. Her gaze was calm but sharp, her shoulders squared like a woman ready for battle. Ethan Blackwell stepped onto the podium, clad in a tailored black suit, his voice low and steady as it echoed through the mic. "Thank you all for being here," he began, his eyes sweeping the room. "Today I will address the baseless accusations made against Ms. Jade Harper and our collaborative project." He nodded at Ryan, his assistant, who queued up the screen. Charts, emails, and campaign documents filled the displays. Ethan gestured toward the data, his voice steel. "These are the campaign records. Every number, every idea transparent and traceable. Ms. Harper and the Nova Creative team worked tirelessly to ensure success. These accusations are false." A reporter raised a hand. "Mr. Blackwell, there are rumors that Ms. Harper received special treatment because of a personal relationship with you. How do you respond?" Jade's hand tightened around her cup. Her eyes flicked to Ethan. Ethan met the reporter's stare with chilling calm. "Those rumors are born of jealousy and manipulation, and I have proof." He signaled to Ryan, who brought up a new slide and email exchange between Vanessa Lane, Ethan's ex, and an employee from a rival firm, detailing a scheme to spread damaging rumors. The room broke into murmurs. In the back row, Vanessa shot to her feet. "Ethan, you can't do this," she said, voice shaking. "I was just what, Vanessa?" Ethan cut her off, voice sharp as glass. "Trying to sabotage the reputation of a brilliant woman out of jealousy? You've gone too far." He turned back to the audience, his tone firmer. "Jade Harper is not just a partner. She's the only person who's ever looked me in the eye and never backed down. I chose her because of her talent, her resilience, and because no one has the right to touch her dignity." Jade's breath caught. The applause from the audience faded into the background. She could only hear the thundering of her own heartbeat. Ethan had defended her publicly, fiercely, without hesitation. After the press dispersed, Jade waited in the corner of the lobby, arms crossed but no longer guarded. When Ethan approached, hands in his pockets, that familiar mix of curiosity and ease in his expression, she spoke first. "Blackwell," she said, voice calm but tinged with warmth. "Thank you, really. What you said today, It meant something to me. Ethan raised a brow, the corners of his mouth tugging upward. Harper, did you just thank me? I thought you didn't need a knight in shining armor. Jade laughed softly, sincerely. Don't get cocky, I still don't. But I do appreciate when someone stands up for the truth. She paused, locking eyes with him. But why, Blackwell? You didn't have to make a spectacle out of it. An internal email would have done the job. Ethan stepped closer, voice dropping. Because you deserve more than that. You've been fighting alone at Lux, at the villa, at the gala. I couldn't let Vanessa or anyone else hurt you again. He pulled a USB from his jacket pocket and held it out to her. This is everything I presented today. Keep it. You have the right to know everything. Jade accepted the USB, her fingers brushing against his briefly. You always find ways to surprise me, Blackwell, she said with a wry smile. But don't think a flash drive and a good speech will make me go soft. Ethan chuckled, a rare, rich sound. I'm not trying to make you go soft, Harper. I just want you to know I'm serious. Vanessa's the past. But you... He paused, eyes glowing. You're the one who makes me want to rewrite everything. Jade arched an eyebrow, her expression still guarded, but a smile threatened the edge of her lips. Serious? We're still competitors, Blackwell. A press conference doesn't change that. She held up the USB. Thanks for this, but don't expect a thank you call. Ethan shrugged, gaze never leaving her. I'm not expecting anything, but if you ever want peppermint tea, I know a place. He walked away, leaving Jade standing there with the warm glow of something she hadn't felt in a long time, being seen and fiercely defended. That evening at Nova Creative, Jade sat at her desk under the soft glow of her desk lamp. She plugged in the USB Ethan had given her and scrolled through the files, evidence, timelines, records. Solid, precise. He actually did it, she whispered, a flicker of admiration in her voice. Her phone buzzed. It was Chloe, bursting with excitement. Jade, I saw the press conference. Ethan Blackwell went full superhero. No one touches her. I mean, come on. Are you sure you're not falling for him? Jade laughed, twirling her teacup in hand. Chloe, calm down. He just did the right thing. Don't get any ideas. But as she gazed out the window, watching the city lights shimmer, her thoughts drifted to Ethan. She opened her drawer. His business card was still there. She didn't pick it up, but she didn't close the drawer either. Thanks, Blackwell, she murmured, voice soft. But I'm not done yet. She closed the laptop, but her heart felt lighter. A crack had formed in the wall she'd built. Not enough to fall apart, but enough to let something real begin to shine through. Back at Blackwell Enterprises, Ethan stood in his office, watching the city lights reflect off the windows. Ryan entered, dropping off a new report. The press conference was a win, he said dryly. But Harper's still stubborn. You sure you can handle her? Ethan smiled, eyes glowing with something rare and certain. She's Jade Harper, Ryan. If she wasn't stubborn, I wouldn't be here. He tapped the desk once, thinking of her strength, her fire, and the quiet pain she never let show. I'll wait, he added softly. She's worth waiting for. The rooftop of Blackwell Enterprises shimmered under the soft glow of golden string lights. A small table draped in white silk sat near the edge, adorned with a simple lavender bouquet. 2 plates of seared salmon and a glass of fresh orange juice waited in place. Jade Harper stepped out of the elevator, the click of her heels echoing on the stone floor. Her deep blue dress hugged her figure with elegance, her presence striking against the city skyline. She paused, eyes scanning the scene before settling on Ethan Blackwell. He stood by the table, sleeves rolled up, top buttons undone, far from the cold CEO image he usually wore. Blackwell, what exactly are you doing with this rooftop? Jade asked, arms crossed, eyebrow raised. Hosting a sorry for last week's chaos dinner? Ethan smiled, eyes twinkling under the lights. No apology, Harper. Just dinner. Sit down unless you plan to stand there and interrogate me all night. Jade laughed and pulled out a chair, her gaze still guarded but curious. Fine, but if this turns into a stunt, I'm sending you the bill. She eyed the salmon. Looks decent, but explain. Why drag me up here? Ethan took his seat across from her, lifting a glass of wine, his eyes never leaving hers. Because I want to talk. Not about work, not about rumors, about us. He paused, voice softening. But first, how's the food? I remembered you hate anything too fancy. Jade raised an eyebrow, fork in hand, teasing. Passable, Blackwell. But if you're here to talk about us, you better do better than passable. She sipped her juice, eyes daring. Well, what do you want? Ethan leaned in slightly, gaze serious but warm. Jade, I'm not good at this. But since you walked into my life, everything changed. You make me want to do something that feels real. No spreadsheets, no strategy. He smiled faintly. I didn't believe in love until you looked at me like I wasn't worth more than a C+, and somehow I wanted to earn an A. Jade froze, the glass trembling slightly in her hand. She forced a playful tone. Ethan Blackwell, are you confessing? Because if you are, this is the weirdest love confession I've ever heard. She arched a brow, though her eyes softened. You think one dinner and a few sweet words will make me swoon? Ethan laughed, low and warm in the night air. Swoon? Please, I know you better than that, Harper, but I want to try. He stood, walked over to her, sincerity radiating off him. Be with me, Jade. Not as my rival, not as a colleague, just as the woman I want beside me. Jade rose slowly, standing face to face with him, only inches apart. You really think I'm just going to say yes? She challenged, half joking. You stood next to Vanessa, said nothing when rumors flew, and now this whole candlelit setup? You're confusing, Blackwell. Ethan stepped closer, his voice lowering. I was wrong to stay silent, Jade, but I did it because I knew you didn't need saving. You're strong, fierce, and you make me lose control. His eyes locked onto hers. I don't want you as my competition. I want you as the first person I think of when I wake up. Her heart pounded, but she kept her voice cool. Nice words, Blackwell, but I need proof. How do you plan to convince me? Ethan smiled and gently took her hand. Like this. He leaned in, eyes asking permission. She didn't pull back. Instead, she placed her hand on his chest, feeling the steady thump of his heart. All right, Ethan, she murmured, but don't think this is easy. You've got work to do. Their first kiss was slow, soft, deep, not the kind that erased everything, but the kind that promised something stronger than words. Under the glowing lights, with the city as their witness, the walls between them finally began to crumble. When they pulled apart, Jade raised an eyebrow, playful again. Not bad, Blackwell, but you'll need practice. Ethan chuckled, tugging her gently back. Tough critic, Harper. I'll improve, don't worry. He gestured to the table. Come on, don't let the salmon get cold. You'll deduct points. Jade sat back down, her eyes still on him. You know, Ethan, I never thought I'd be up here. Like this with you. You've surprised me and moved me. Ethan raised his glass, his voice warm. Good, because you're the only surprise I want to keep, Jade. He sipped, then asked with a grin. So what scares you most about being my girlfriend? Jade laughed softly. That you'll distract me in meetings, or worse, try to manage me. Then her tone softened. But honestly, I just want to stay me. Ethan nodded, sincerity in every word. I don't want to change you, Jade. I just want to stand beside you, with all your fire. He brushed his fingers against hers. Deal. She smiled and laced her fingers through his. Deal. Late that night, Jade returned to her apartment, where Chloe waited on the couch with a cup of cocoa. Jade, that smile. What did he do, sign a new contract with you on the roof? Jade threw a pillow at her, laughing. No contracts, Chloe. He confessed, mentioned the teddy bear pajamas, mocked steak, and kissed me. She sat down, glowing. But I told him he's got to earn it. Chloe screamed and dropped her cocoa. Jade Harper, you're in love. I knew it. What else did he say? Tell me everything. Jade sipped her tea, voice soft. He said I make him want to be real, and I think I want that too. With him. She smiled, but stop screaming. I'm still me, you know. Sure, Chloe teased. But I'm betting you'll fall for him hard. Guys like that don't come twice. Jade shook her head. but the smile lingered as she gazed out the window at the glittering city. She thought of Ethan, of his honesty, his vulnerability, his strange, unguarded charm. "He's one of a kind," she whispered, "and I'm going to keep him." Jade Harper's apartment on a Saturday evening, 6 months after the rooftop confession, glowed softly under the warm light of a table lamp, infused with the familiar scent of peppermint tea. She stepped inside, kicked off her heels after a long day of meetings at Nova Creative, and paused at the sight of a large box on her bed, wrapped in seafoam green paper, her favorite color, with a small handwritten card resting beside it. Smiling with curiosity sparkling in her eyes, Jade opened the box and let out a laugh. Inside was a limited edition cotton pajama set printed with teddy bears, an exact replica of the one she had worn on that blind date at Lux over a year ago. The card read, "This bear has a ring pocket. Aren't you curious?" Jade touched the pajama pocket and found a small red velvet box inside. Her heartbeat quickened, warmth rising in her chest. "Ethan Blackwell, what are you up to now?" she murmured with a gentle smile. From the kitchen, the aroma of creamy mushroom pasta wafted through the air, accompanied by the soft clinking of utensils. Ethan appeared at the kitchen doorway, wearing a navy apron, sleeves rolled up, a few strands of hair falling casually over his forehead. He looked relaxed, nothing like the cold CEO he used to be, and it made Jade's smile deepen. "You're home just in time," Ethan said, his voice low and warm. "Pasta's nearly ready. Like the new bear?" Jade held up the pajamas, amused. "You never forgot the bear outfit, did you? But what's this about a ring pocket, Ethan? Planning another surprise?" Ethan walked over, wiping his hands on the apron, his gaze tender. "Not just a surprise, Jade." He knelt on one knee and opened the velvet box, revealing a silver ring with a glistening sea green stone, just like her eyes under the rooftop lights 6 months ago. "Jade Harper, from the moment you walked into Lux wearing that ridiculous bear pajama set, with that smile and those eyes that made me forget who I was, I knew you were the one I wanted by my side forever. You make me want to live honestly, to love fully, to spend my life making you happy. Will you marry me?" Jade froze, the teacup trembling in her hand. Her eyes blurred as a tear slid down her cheek, then another. Ethan's words, so raw and sincere, touched a part of her heart she had long kept locked away. She laughed through the tears, voice trembling. "Ethan, are you really proposing with a bear pajama set? Only you would think of that." She wiped her tears, eyes shining. "But I love your weirdness." "Yes, Ethan, I'll marry you." She threw her arms around him, hugging him tight, pressing her face against his chest, feeling the strong rhythm of his heart and the warmth of his embrace. Ethan smiled, lifting her chin gently to wipe away her tears. "Are you sure, Jade? Because I never want to be without you." He leaned in and kissed her deeply, passionately, as if every moment from Lux to the rooftop was folded into that kiss. Jade held him closer, letting herself feel the safety and love she once feared, but now craved. When they finally pulled apart, she whispered, "You made me cry, Ethan, but this time, I don't mind." He chuckled and kissed her forehead. "I'll make you laugh more often, but for now, sit down, your pasta's getting cold." He pulled out a chair and set down the creamy mushroom pasta and a cup of peppermint tea. Jade sat, picking up her fork, still smiling. "Pasta instead of salmon? You really know how to surprise me." She sipped her tea. 6 months ago, I thought you were just an overconfident CEO. But now, I can't imagine a day without you." Ethan raised his wine glass, eyes glowing. "You're my light, Jade. I won't promise perfection, but I promise to always be here for you." He paused and then smiled. "Oh, and fair warning, our wedding will include lavender. No escaping that." Jade laughed, lifting her cup. "Lavender, fine, but no beef dishes. I want our wedding to be truly special." 3 months later, Jade and Ethan were busy planning their wedding with enthusiastic help from Chloe and Ryan. They chose a small seaside garden where waves whispered softly and the sunset painted a romantic backdrop. One weekend afternoon, the whole crew gathered there to finalize the plans. Chloe, the maid of honor, came running with a clipboard full of inspiration photos. "Jade, look! A V-neck lace gown, totally your style." She held up a photo of an elegant white dress. And I think we should have a photo corner with lavender and white roses, super romantic. Jade smiled, studying the picture. It's beautiful, Chloe. And fine, we can have lavender for Ethan. She looked at him, her eyes glowing. But don't you dare turn the whole garden purple, okay? Ethan squeezed her hand, smiling. I just want you to smile, Jade. Roses are fine too. He kissed her hand, making Chloe squeal. Ryan, the best man, sighed. If you two get any sweeter, I'm picking rock music for balance. Chloe, don't drag me into flower planning. I'm busy choosing a tie. Chloe shot him a look. Rock? Jade and Ethan need jazz like at Lux. Right, Jade? Jade laughed, leaning on Ethan's shoulder. You two stop bickering. I want jazz and a mint tea bar. The rest, you decide. Ethan kissed her hair and whispered, You delegate to them, I'll handle the rest. But I want the first dance with you, Jade. She smiled, squeezing his hand. Fine, but you'd better practice. I'm not stepping on your feet on our wedding day. 1 week before the wedding, Grandma Eleanor, Jade's sharp-eyed grandmother, visited their apartment to check on progress. With her silver hair and keen gaze, she sat on the sofa, looking at Ethan. You're the CEO, right? She asked with a teasingly stern tone. My granddaughter is a treasure. If you hurt her, I'll come after you. Ethan bowed slightly, smiling. Mrs. Eleanor, I promise to make Jade happy. She's everything to me. He turned to Jade, his gaze soft. But don't worry, she's strong enough to keep me in check. Grandma Eleanor laughed, patting his shoulder. Good, you'll do. But Jade, I want to see the bear pajama set at the wedding. It's the beginning of you two. Jade hugged her, laughing. We'll take a picture with it, just for you, Grandma. But the gown is non-negotiable. She looked at Ethan, warmth in her eyes. Thanks, Grandma, for always being here. The wedding took place under the golden sunset in the seaside garden, glowing with strings of fairy lights, lavender and white roses. Jade walked down the aisle in a V-neck white gown, her curled hair cascading gently, eyes shimmering as she looked at Ethan standing tall in a deep navy suit, waiting at the end. As she reached him, he whispered, Jade, you're more beautiful than all the flowers here. She held his hand, smiling with teary eyes. You're making me cry again, Ethan, but I love you for it. She gripped his hand tightly, feeling his warmth. The ceremony was filled with laughter. Chloe and Ryan bickered playfully about who had the better grip on the wedding rings, making the guests laugh. Grandma Eleanor raised her glass proudly. Jade is my pride. Ethan, you're lucky to have her, but I'll still be watching you. Ethan lifted his glass. Mrs. Eleanor, I promise to make Jade smile every day. And Jade, I vow to spend my life loving you. His gaze was sincere. Jade smiled, whispering, And I promise too, Ethan, a lifetime with you. Their first dance swayed under twinkling lights to the smooth sounds of jazz, just like at Lux. Ethan pulled Jade close, whispering, You're my legend, Jade. Bear pajamas or wedding dress, I just need you. Jade leaned into him, smiling. You're my legend too, Ethan, and I'll keep you forever. The reception ended with Jade holding the bear pajamas, snapping photos with Ethan, Chloe, Ryan, and Grandma Eleanor surrounded by laughter and sparkling lights, beginning a new chapter full of love.